Review, you guys. Let's go ahead and find a straightaway. Let's actually put this thing to the test here. I'm going to give back full control to our X4 and let's see how quickly we can get this one here up to speed. All right, you guys, from a standstill in 3, 2, 1. Off we go. Yeah, that'll work. Plenty of an acceleration for merging onto the highway. There was a smidge bit of turbo lag at the very beginning, but once you get past that, this thing is a rocket. Even though we don't even have the M40i, 0 to 60 in 6 seconds flat, you guys, in an SUV especially, is crazy quick, let me tell you. So absolutely no issues when it comes to that acceleration. But to go along with that acceleration, as always, braking is equally important. And so brake setup will differ slightly depending upon if you go with xDrive 30i or the M40i. For the 30i, you're going to get 13-inch ventilated front disc, 13-inch solid rear disc. If you were to jump up to the M40i, you're going to get 13.7-inch ventilated front disc, 13.5-inch solid rear disc. As far as that 60 to 0 stopping distance goes, it's going to come in at approximately 123 feet for the xDrive 30i and then 109 feet for the M40i. But having said that, both of those numbers are plenty respectable. I've driven so many SUVs lately where that 60 to 0 stopping distance comes in the 130s. So 123 feet even is plenty fine. And as far as the braking feel goes, definitely bites very hard. It's actually perfect. It doesn't bite too hard, but it's not a soft braking feel either. It's honestly exactly how I personally would probably want an SUV to brake. I'll put it that way. But 109 feet is just ridiculous. That's like a sports car, but with an SUV. So that's crazy. But then touching on suspension and handling, up front, you're going to get an independent strut type front suspension. In the back, independent multi-link rear suspension, front and rear stabilizer bars, also an M Sport suspension coming on this one as well. That is pretty cool. And if you were to go with that M40i, you can get an adaptive suspension then as well. And actually, you can even get that with the xDrive 30i. There is a dynamic handling package that goes for $1,200. So if you wanted that adaptive suspension, you can still get it on this particular setup that we have here today. But essentially what that is it monitors each shock absorber individually, not only giving you a smoother ride, but also tightening up that suspension during heavy cornering, really giving you the best of both worlds. So whenever there is an adaptive suspension available, I do always try to recommend that because you can always tell the difference instantly when you compare the two driving them back to back. So that is definitely an option I personally would recommend at least. But overall, as far as ride quality goes, it is great. BMW always kills it with ride quality anyway, so I never had any doubts, but ride quality is plenty fine. It's certainly absorbing Pennsylvania's road imperfections quite nicely. As far as the steering feel goes, that is wonderful. And really, I always say this, what makes it even better, since we have the M Sport package, we got these 10-2 grips that are absolutely mammoth. They are massive, and it gives the driver a better feeling of being in control. And that's why I kind of emphasize on the 10-2 grips, because I personally love them. They are the biggest grips out there in the automotive world right now, and they are perfect, at least for me. So I am definitely a big fan of the grips. But again, when it comes to the steering feel, it's perfectly fine. And like I told you guys, it is actually adjustable. You put it in the sport mode, you're going to have a heavier weight to it. You put it in maybe Eco Pro, it's going to feel kind of loosey-goosey. So depends on what you're into, I guess. Then touching on cabin noise, that is again one of the first things I noticed. I've driven so many SUVs lately, and they always give me some kind of wind noise, at least lately I feel like. But with the X4, you get nothing. It's a very serene, very peaceful cabin here in the X4. So I've had absolutely no issues whatsoever when it comes to that. Then touching on visibility, perhaps, I mean, I think everyone knows what I'm going to say here. The X4, because of its cool Sportback-like design, visibility is not obviously going to be as good as, let's say, the X3 maybe. But having said that, I always use this as an example because I've talked to many of these guys. But if you were to ask a Camaro owner or a 370Z owner how their visibility is, which really in reality it's absolutely horrible, they will actually tell you it's perfectly fine because it's something that you get used to. So although this visibility isn't the most out there, it's definitely something I would imagine you would get used to. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But also, to go along with visibility, rain sensing windshield wipers actually do come standard across the board. That's pretty cool. And if you were to go with the M40i, you're also going to get a head-up display, which, by the way, is optional on the xDrive 30i. We actually do have it here today. So currently I am looking at my speed as well as the speed limit of any given road, and it also actually projects some safety features up there as well when it's needed. So that about rounds out the performance segment of this review, guys. Let's now go ahead and take a look at the exterior of our brand new 2022 BMW X4. All right, and so here she is, you guys, the new 2022 BMW X4, finished in Alpine White. In case anybody was curious of our exterior color name, I actually like it. I always think white BMWs look really good, but let's go ahead and start up front on this one because there are several revisions for the 2022 X4 when it comes to exterior styling. For example, take a look at that front grille. It's now a larger front grille for the 2022 X4, so I did want to mention that it is still an active front grille as well. So if I get up closer here, you guys can see that those shutters are closed right now because engine cooling is not needed, but when I was actually driving it, those shutters were open. And maybe when I'm doing my exterior shots of this video, I'll have a chance to show that to you guys. Maybe not, I don't know, but they are closed right now, so I do want to mention that because the active kidney front grille is pretty cool. But continuing on, satin aluminum exterior trim surrounding that front grille for the xDrive 30i, cerium gray exterior trim for the M40i, and you can also get gloss black surrounds if you were to go with the M Sport package like we have here in our particular X4. Front air curtains down to the corners there, you guys can see those. Those assist air in making its way around the wheel and tire combination, giving you a little better aerodynamics there. Also, you will find a more aggressive front fascia if you were to go with that M Sport package. And by the way, that package goes for $1,550 in case anybody was curious about that. To the sides, LED headlights with the cornering function do come standard across the board. Cornering function meaning when you're going around a bend at night, those headlights will swivel based on the direction of your steering angle, better help illuminating what is around the bend. So it's a safety feature there in itself. That's pretty cool. Of course, automatic feature coming with those headlights, LED daytime running lights, and LED fog lights are available then as well. So overall, pretty much everything you could possibly want on the front end. And again, our front end is slightly revised because we have the M Sport package. So it is going to differ depending upon which configuration that you go with. But that about rounds out the front of this one. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the side of the X4. All right, so now making our way to the side, roof rails are available, but they do not come standard, but they go for $250 then if you were interested. Satin aluminum, cerium gray, or gloss black window surrounds, again, dependent upon which configuration that you go with. Rear privacy glass does come standard across the board, of course. There are actually some functional front fender vents. Let me get up close here so I can show those to you guys. Again, assisting with aerodynamics there, so I found that was pretty cool. And again, they're going to be finished in the same exterior material as finished on the window, so figured I mentioned that. Then when it comes to those side mirrors, they are power folding body colored side mirrors. They will come heated with LED integrated turn signals then as well. Then taking a look down at the wheel configuration, 19-inch gray aluminum alloys coming with the xDrive 30i, 19-inch double 5-spoke alloys coming with the M Sport, and of course there are 20-inch wheel designs and 21-inch wheel designs available as well. For example, you actually are looking at a 21-inch wheel design that is optional on the M Sport, so that is pretty cool. I like those wheels. They look pretty good on this X4 that we have here today. But last thing I wanted to mention on the side here are the side skirts. Satin aluminum accents will come standard for the xDrive 30i, and then you can get body colored side skirts like you're currently looking at if you were to go with the M Sport package or the M40i then as well. But that about rounds out the side of this one. Let's now go ahead and make our way to the back. So but now, since we are around back, body colored shark fin antenna all the way to the top. Just below that, rear spoiler found in the upper portion of that rear window. Just below that, you will find LED taillights coming standard across the board. Gotta love that. Satin aluminum trim then on the lower portion of the rear bumper, unless you go with the M Sport or the M40i, because then it is going to be transferred to gloss black. And another cool thing about that rear bumper, it's kind of like a rear diffuser back there in gloss black as well, so I thought that was pretty cool. But anyways, to the sides then, these exhaust outlets are kind of integrated into the bottom portion of that rear bumper, which I think is a pretty cool look, and they will be finished in chrome or a dark chrome as on our M Sport package here today. But nonetheless, I do believe you guys know what we have to do next. As always, here is that exhaust clip. All right, so now since we are around back of the X4, when it comes to opening that rear tailgate, there is a power tailgate that just comes standard across the board. There is a button on the key fob, that is one way. But the coolest way, I think, in my personal opinion, to go ahead and open that rear tailgate is there's actually a hidden 007-ish kind of way in the back. You simply just press in on the upper portion of the BMW logo, which you would not even think would be a way to go ahead and open up that tailgate. So that's the way I would do it, because people that don't own a BMW, or specifically the X4, are going to have no idea that you can do that. So I think that's pretty darn cool. But once opened up, cargo capacity comes in at 23.7 cubic feet. If that was not enough space, there's a 40-20-40 split, which means the rear seats do fold down, bumping that up to 50.5 cubic feet. There's also cargo lighting back there, but not just any cargo lighting, LED cargo lighting. You do not always get that. I thought that was pretty cool. Luggage net on the left side of the cargo area. There's plenty of tie-down anchors. There's grocery bag hooks. And if you were to lift up underneath of that cargo floor, you will find some in-floor storage actually as well, which is pretty cool. But anyways, that about rounds out the cargo area. Then making our way to the rear legroom, that is going to come in at 35.5 inches. So for reference, I am an even 6 feet tall. This is how much space I had in the back there. Rear center armrest with cup holders does come standard. Rear ventilation, but not only that, the X4 actually comes standard with tri-zone climate control. So with that rear ventilation, rear passengers can actually set their own temperatures back there. So that is pretty cool. But anyways, heated rear seats coming with the M40i if you go with the premium or executive packages. That's how you're going to go ahead and get them. Charging ports can be found, phone charging ports can be found back there as well. And of course, they get a little taste of the ambient lighting that we have as well, which is pretty cool. I like this purple color. I think I'm going to leave it on that. But anyways, I'll show you guys the ambient lighting later. Then making our way to the front seats, Sensitech upholstery coming standard. However, there is a Vernasca leather that is available on the X4. Power adjustable front seats with power lumbar does come standard. Memory settings actually, surprisingly, does come standard as well. You almost never get memory settings coming standard on any vehicle out there, so I thought that was pretty cool. Heated front seats are an option for an additional $500 if you wanted it as a standalone option, I should say. Also like the adjustable leg rest that I found here on our X4 too. You don't always get them. Actually, you very rarely get them. So lumbar support was plenty good on this thing. Overall, seats were insanely comfortable, especially due to this leg rest that I've been playing around with for the longest time. But anyways, let's now go ahead and make our way to the steering wheel. It is tilt and telescoping. It is leather wrapped, coming standard, and it can be heated if you wanted to spend an additional $190. So that is available for you. Then making our way to the startup. Let me first start by showing you guys the key here. You do have your cool M Sport colors on the side because we do have the M Sport package. You also get those colors with the M40i, of course, as well. But overall, lock, unlock, that button to pop the rear hatch. The lock button is actually the BMW logo, but it is all keyless entry with the push button start. So all I am going to do here is simply put my foot on the brake and press that silver engine start button located just to the left of the shifter. Now here's my favorite part. Upon startup, you will find the X4 comes standard with a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster, and that isn't an option. Again, it comes standard across the board. You don't always get that, so I have to emphasize these things. So that's pretty cool. To adjust what is on those digital gauges, there are steering wheel mounted controls, of course, but it does adjust slightly the colors when you change the drive modes as well. So if I were to put it in Eco Pro, you're going to get some blue hues. Obviously Sport, you're going to get red hues, and then if you put it in that comfort mode, it's going to be more towards the orange side of things. And if you were curious what the lines were in the middle of it all, that's actually the navigation portion of it. So it does display a little bit of the navigation within those gauges as well. Tells you how many miles you have left until you hit empty. Speed limit recognition up there. There's outside temperature. Pretty much everything you could possibly think of on a digital gauge cluster, of course. But then making our way to overall interior quality, a dual pane panoramic sunroof does come standard. Anthracite headliner, also standard. 3-zone climate control, also standard. Auto-dimming rear view mirror, universal garage door openers for up to 3 different garage doors. That's pretty cool. Dark oak wood trim coming standard. I like the oak wood trim. That's found just underneath the infotainment screen, which I'll get to in a second. Also on the doors as well. That looks pretty darn cool. And I keep mentioning the ambient lighting, you guys. That's an option that goes for $250. An option I would definitely recommend. I always say Mercedes-Benz and BMW do ambient lighting very, very well. So it looks absolutely wonderful in here. You can adjust the ambient lighting using the infotainment screen, of course, but overall interior quality is finished as you would expect it to be for the X4. Like I said, you got the wood trim, you have the contrast leather, you also have the ambient lighting. Even the actual handle to open the glove box is finished in silver, whereas other manufacturers usually just leave it the same color as the glove box itself. So I thought that was pretty cool. You do have cup holders just in front of the shifter, 12-volt power outlet, little bit of storage up there. Just behind the shifter, you have an electromechanical parking brake and a decent amount of storage found within the center armrest as well, with a little light in there and another phone charging port then too. So overall, interior quality is 100% on point, as you would expect it to be here in the X4. But now let's go ahead and make our way to the infotainment screen here. There is a 10.25-inch color touchscreen display that does come standard, but the coolest thing is it's not just touchscreen. It is voice activated. You can also use the touchpad controller and buttons located just to the right of the shifter, and gesture control is available if you wanted to go that route as well. And gesture control is one of the coolest things. Essentially, I'm turning up the radio now. It's on Frank Sinatra, but I'm just moving my finger. That's all I'm doing. I can turn it up. I can turn it down. It's so cool with my finger. That's nuts. I love gesture control on any BMW. But anyways, continuing on, Bluetooth and audio streaming, of course, does come standard. Android Auto, Apple CarPlay coming standard as well. Factory navigation system coming standard yet again. Climate control settings you can adjust up there. Ambient lighting settings, as I was telling you guys as well. And by the way, to adjust that ambient lighting, you hit the car icon, and then you hit the settings icon, and then you hit the interior lighting icon, and then you can actually adjust the colors. I'm going to leave it on purple, but you can also choose green, blue, there's white, there's orange, or lilac, I should say. I'm leaving it on. Also bronze, so plenty of colors. And if you guys watch my reviews, you know I'm absolutely obsessed with ambient lighting, so I think that's pretty cool. But anyways, can of course also check out your radio information up there as well. And by the way, when it comes to the sound system here in our X4, 12 speaker hi-fi sound system with 205 watts does come standard across the board. So having said that, what do you guys say? Let's go ahead and turn on some Frank Sinatra here, and let's test out the clarity of this one. When there's a shine on your shoes. Is it just me, or every time when you guys hear Frank Sinatra, do you feel like going to the Olive Garden? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Sound system was plenty fine though, actually, considering it's not like a Harman Kardon or Bowers and Wilkins or something like that. This is just the standard hi-fi sound system, but the standard sound system gets 12 speakers. Usually you're used to 6 or maybe 8 if you're lucky, but 12 speakers is plenty fine for the size of the X4, if I'm being honest. But last thing I wanted to mention to you guys on that infotainment screen is when you do put the X4 in reverse, you will find a rear view camera coming standard across the board. That 360-degree monitor you guys are seeing to the right, that is optional, but that is going to give you the bird's eye view, which is always is going to lead us into safety. And so front side curtain airbags do come standard on the X4. In the back, you're going to have latch, aka lower anchors and tethers to children for the rear car seats, rear child door locks, tire pressure monitoring system. That's all extremely boring at this point, but also coming standard across the board, front and rear parking sensors, forward collision warning, blind spot monitoring system, lane departure warning, and speed limit recognition as well. And then I did want to also mention that there is a parking assistance package that goes for $700. That's going to be that automatic parking, so that's pretty cool too if you wanted it. But anyways, when it comes to my final thoughts here of the X4, I do love the styling of the X4. The sportback design on an SUV is so freaking cool to me. There are some slight upgrades. The taillights were redone, of course, for 2022, as well as the front grille as well. So nothing too crazy, though. It's not like a complete redesign. It's just a couple little refreshes here for this one. 3 years of free maintenance is definitely a big selling point as well. Digital gauges are always wonderful on BMW. Ambient lighting is stellar as well. Driving dynamics, though, that's really the main focus of all BMWs, I think. If you're into driving dynamics, if you want a fun drive in an SUV, this is definitely one you're going to have to check out, because the driving dynamics on this X4 are wonderful, especially if you want 0 to 60 in 4.4, go with the M40i. But even if you don't, this thing was plenty quick on our xDrive 30i, I will say that. But the only thing I can think of when it comes to room for improvement is this thing can get dang pricey with all of the options that BMW gives you. And so ultimately, if you're spending this much money, you might